Hello everyone, today we will continue exploring the advanced clothing shader. More specifically, I'll show you how to use it in an actual game environment. For this tutorial I'll be using our Ukrainian Soldier Configurator. Its clothing shader supports wind animation similar to what we set up in the first video, and it also includes a built-in locomotion system, so it will be easier to set up for this tutorial. I have also downloaded a free helicopter model from Fab Marketplace, so let's get started. To enable communication between blueprints, we will use a blueprint interface. Let's create one and name it BPI Wind Effect. Open it and create a new function called Apply Wind. We will need an input parameter to pass the wind strength, so let's create a float input variable. Next, let's create a new actor blueprint called BP Helicopter, which will generate the wind effect itself. Add the helicopter skeletal mesh and assign the rotate and rotor blade animation. We will also need a sphere collision component. When the character enters the sphere, a script will start calculating how strongly the wind affects the clothing based on the character's proximity to the helicopter. Let's increase the collision radius to 800 units. Now let's create the script. We will start with the onComponentBegin overlap event. First, add a check to determine whether the overlapping actor implements the BPI wind effect interface. If it does, we will store a reference to that object in a variable called wind actor. For performance optimization, we will calculate the wind effect influence on the character's clothing only while the character is inside the helicopter's effective range. To achieve this, add a gate node and open it only when an object implementing BPI wind effect enters the sphere. Next, let's add the logic that closes the gate when the object leaves the sphere. We will also check whether the object exiting the radius is the same object for which we are currently calculating wind influence. To determine the wind strength affecting the character's clothing, we need to know the distance between the helicopter and our target object. Get the world locations of both the helicopter and the wind actor, subtract one location vector from the other, and calculate the length of the resultant vector. Now we will use a map range function to create an inverse relationship between wind strength and distance from the helicopter. This means that when the distance approaches 0, the wind effect strength reaches its maximum value of 2. As the distance approaches the maximum radius of 800 units, which corresponds to the boundary of our collision sphere, the wind strength gradually approaches nil. Now take the reference to our wind actor and call the apply wind interface message. But why isn't it finding the function? I see in the issue I accidentally typed too many p's in the interface function name. Alright, now it works. Now let us open the Ukrainian Soldier blueprint and add the BPI wind effect interface in the class settings. Once the interface is added, the apply wind function becomes available under the interfaces section. Whenever this interface function is called, we need to update the wind-related scalar parameters of the closing dynamic materials. In the project we are using, the dynamic materials have already been created. If you are implementing this in a different project outside our characters configurator framework, you may need to create dynamic materials instances manually in order to control their parameters. To do that, open the construction script, get a reference to the mesh component and call to create dynamic materials instance. If your mesh uses multiple materials, don't forget to specify the material index corresponding to the material you want to control. This function returns a dynamic material instance. Store it in a variable so you will have access to its parameters later. Repeat this process for each material you need to control and make sure the script is executed somewhere within the construction script. Now let's continue. For demonstrating the wind effect, we will use 4 materials: the helmet, shirt, pants and vest. All of them are derived from the same master material, which means they share identical parameter names. Because of this, we can control them simultaneously. Let's use the setScalar parameter value function. First, let's verify the parameter name. I'll open the closing master material and copy the parameter name. Wind weight. Let's place the helicopter actor somewhere near the player's start position, so we don't have to spend too much time walking. Now we are ready to test. As you can see, there is no wind influence on the clothing when the game starts. As we move closer to the helicopter, we can already notice the fabric beginning to react slightly to the airflow. Let's move directly underneath it to see the maximum effect. Now, as we move away, the effect gradually disappears. As you can see, this setup is quite straightforward, but it can add an extra level of detail and realism to your project. In the next video, we will connect our clothing material to a material parameter collection, allowing us to control the close wind parameters globally for all characters in the scene, just like wind gusts affect everyone's clothing at the same time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you find this video useful. See you next time. Bye bye.